All right, we're back. How's everybody doing? I am joined again by the illustrious Gavin Stone from across the pond to take a look at, if you will, a spy master. So I have a spy with me to evaluate a spy master. And this is going to become kind of important in this video because Mike Pompeo is a politician, a spy master, and a Secretary of State. So he's a diplomat too. He's kind of got everything covered as one guy. And in that sense, he's a pretty impressive guy. He's got this a significant stature. So I don't want to be speaking lightly about him. But there is some good stuff to check out in this video. And before I get started, though, I have to kind of brag on the channel just a little bit because I get the smartest people here on the channel. And over the summer, late last year, I did some videos with Gavin here. I did videos with Spidey, who many of you will know as part of behavioral arts, along with Rob Morton of Law and Lumber. And we covered Ashley Morgan Smithline and Evan Rachel Wood and other people involved at the Manson case. Why does this matter? Because today, Ashley Morgan Smithline, and I'm going to say it, we called it. She released a deposition or statement to the court. It is part of the court record as part of the anti-SLAPP suit. And she stated essentially that she had a consensual relationship with Marilyn Manson and that he never abused her and that she was essentially coerced into lying by Evan Rachel Wood, Ilma Gore, and Esme Bianco.
As we said, she did.
We knew there were problems with her, and I have been saying the whole time that she was the weak point. That there was something there, and she was disseminating over time. But on this channel, please feel free to look at the back catalog. I did a long video with Rob talking about how she was trying to fire her lawyer. I did videos with Spidey. I did videos with Gavin talking about Evan Rachel Wood. It is wonderful to see things coming to pass, especially because the charges are extremely severe against Marilyn Manson, and it's looking like, no, he's not guilty. He may look weird, he may be a scary dude, but he is facing the worst conspiracy you could ever imagine. So I encourage everyone to please check out the channel. I may be covering some more of that later. I didn't expect it to drop today, but for today, Mike Pompeo. And
really quickly, I just got to say, it's kind of all credit to you there as well with that, because you call the experts on, but you have to spot something is wrong in the first place to get the experts and say, dude, what do you think of this? Because I think something's not right here. And, so you spot it and then get the experts to confirm it. So all credit to you for spotting that in the first place.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. I'll just defer to all of you, though. Anyway, Mike Pompeo, we're going to cover 3 parts of his interview. He did an interview with John Stossel. And John Stossel is an incredible journalist. I have a great deal of respect for him. He goes all the way back. I believe he worked for 2020 for a long time. Consumer protection guy. He's a libertarian, but very, logical-minded, sharp dude. Reason magazine type. Just really, really on point. The 3 subjects we're going to cover are, to start with, a little bit of a light subject when he talked about his interaction with Chairman Kim of North Korea. Then we're going to follow up on a little pet subject of mine because of my other channel, America's Untold Stories with Mark Robert. What the hell's going on with the Kennedy Files? Did all of you know that the Kennedy Files are still not released? This crime is 60 years old this November 22nd, and they still are holding back files. So we're going to explore him explaining why. And that is probably my favorite part of the interview, just to let you know. Then the third thing we're going to discuss, and it's interesting because in the interview, these subjects were in reverse order. I'm reversing the order that they were covered, but I'm covering them in this interest manner. And the last one, we're going to talk about Edward Snowden and explore not only what he may be saying and his body language and the statement analysis, but maybe getting into a little bit of philosophy on what we think about Edward Snowden. So I hope you guys are up for it, into it, and let's just start off with the fun stuff. John Stossel talking, asking about Pompeo's book and Chairman Kim.
More from your book. You referred to North Korea's leader. This sweating evil man tried to break the ice with the charm you would expect from a mass murderer. Mr. Director, I didn't think you'd show up. I know you've been trying to kill me. And you responded,
I said, all through a translator, I said, Mr. Chairman, I still am. Or maybe I still am. Or something to that effect.
Trying to kill him.
It wasn't what I'd prepared for. I'd spent a lot of time getting ready for that first encounter with Chairman Kim, several months. And we had lots of options about what will be the first handful of things he said. That was not on the menu of things we thought he might say to me. And so I responded in the moment. He was challenging me. He was kind of poking at me. And I thought, I'm going to make sure he understands I'm prepared to challenge and poke back at him. He laughed. He smiled.
He laughed.
I was happy about that. And it actually did break the ice in ways that we were able to have serious conversations. We ultimately failed, John. We didn't get the nuclear weapons out of his hands, so our grand mission was unsuccessful, but we did reduce risk for the American people.
Okay, I think that one, I really wanted to show that first one because he's having fun with the story, and I was thinking that might be a good sort of baseline for him because he looked very comfortable. Everything seemed pretty congruent. I think he caught himself a little bit when he said, I am still, maybe I still am. but and a little up tilt, the little lilt on the end, the hell you. It's like like he was asking a question. What did you get out of that? And also, I don't know if you were watching, what about his interactions with Chairman Kim, or was there not enough to get an idea when he was walking with them?
Not a huge amount, but there seemed to be a reasonable amount of rapport with them, walking side by side, both smiling, both in step, both in sync. So it seemed pretty good. Definitely like kind of opposite pieces on the chessboard, as it were, but a mutual respect to a degree. I will say about this guy, his processing speed is phenomenal. I mean, this is somebody who's seasoned at being able to give the right answers when they're needed. So we're not dealing with somebody here who, I mean, I'm not even going to say his name, but the last person that you asked me to have a look at was a walking kind of, it was easy. It was so easy. And now you've gone to the opposite end of the spectrum, and this guy is a lot harder. However, it is still good to get a baseline. You can see when he's sitting there, he's angled, he's very relaxed, he's very chilled out. There is a couple of little bits that you'll notice, what I call an SBA or a standard baseline action when he's talking. He does this kind of head shake thing that, so normally if you get a head shake that's not congruent, it can be a signal or a sign of deception or something that needs to be investigated further. But he does that a couple of times during his conversation. He's just talking. He's going, yeah, we did this and it was great. So if I see that in future, I can write that off as being something that isn't congruent with his normal actions. It is an SBA. It is a standard baseline action. So
almost like an internal rhythm.
Maybe? Yeah. Just something that he's
yeah.
That's just a habit for him that he's comfortable with. I would like to point out the left-hand gesture that he did when he said, ultimately, our mission failed or our grand mission failed. And then he kind of put it down. He obviously associates this kind of left-hand gesture with a negative thing. I'm only pointing that out at this stage because it might be relevant to a couple of things that are coming later on.
Left hand, that was the same thing with Prince Harry, if I recall, right?
Yeah.
Left hand bad, right hand good.
Usually the way, yeah. So it's people tend to gesture, if they say, "Oh, this really great party over there," or they say, "Oh, I had a really bad time at that place." They generally favour one way or the other, and associate one with negative, one with positive.
Does it go with dominance of hand? Like your dominant hand is the good hand, or is there any kind of rhyme or reason to it?
I've never noticed a pattern. So I wouldn't like to say for definite that if it's right-handed people gesture with their right hand or vice versa. I've just, I just tend to see which way they gesture and what they're talking about when they gesture in that direction, and then kind of, see if I can pick up so if I see it several times and every single time it's positive, it's this way, and every time it's negative that way, then I will kind of make a note of it and say that's the way they favour for negative or positive. But yeah,
there's also a case of it, if I'm correct, that often the right would be future, the left would be the past.
Yeah, so yeah, that's
like a timeline.
Timeline, yeah. And people's timelines work in different ways, exactly the same kind of thing. You have some people who turn around and say, "Oh, way in the future," and their timeline is forward. And they go way back in the past, and their timeline is then forward and backward. And then, so you can be left and right, you can be backward and forward. It all depends on the individual.
Oh, cool.
So what else was it I wanted to notice with that was, the down and right look that he gives when he's kind of thinking back is normally kind of associated to emotional ties. So there's a couple of times when he's talking, he looks down and right and recalls. But other than that, his eyes are pretty much central, and he's constantly kind of giving this very comfortable speech with where he's at with everything. So there's nothing at this point to go on as in this is what he does for X or this is what he does for Y. Just things that we've noted of what he tends to favour at the minute to try and get us a little bit of a baseline ready for the next video.
And by the way, I want to reinforce, this dude is sharp.
Oh yeah.
He's somebody that Gavin might work for someday. Am I right?
Might have worked for in the past, but
right. But I'm saying, you've seen this guy before.
Yeah.
Representations of him, and I'm saying this because John Stossel's not a slouch. Okay, the guy who's questioning him is sharp as a tack, and you have to have some cojones to go on with Stossel being libertarian, making him a little bit anti three-letter agency style. So it makes for a very interesting talk. So let's
we got two samurai swords here against each other, and this isn't two blunt instruments. This is good stuff.
Which I love, though, because they're very respectful. And don't get me wrong, it's just there's a lot going on.
Oh, definitely.
This one, this next segment, I promise it's going to pick up. Something's going on here. And let me make sure I'm actually sharing the screen. Here we go.
Secrets. Why'd you fight to keep the JFK files secret?
Because I was trying to keep Americans safe. And by the way, don't paint with too broad a brush. 99.6% of the JFK files are public today.
99.6% of the files are public today. Don't paint too broad of a brush. I'll interrupt at different points, but it just look at that expression though. I love it, and this is the part that I'm going to interrupt, but this is the part I love though. He gets the question, did you like his immediate stock answer? It's like that one's on the high. That's high on the list.
He knew it was coming.
Keeping America safe, though. It is kind of like, if you ever ask me something because I have all the secrets, it's to keep you safe, Gavin. It's to keep you safe. Yeah. Don't ask me more than that. I'm trying to keep you safe.
Wave the flag. So I love how he started that, by the way. His question there was a brilliant way to kind of bring the seriousness of the situation up. So rather than him turning around and saying, let's talk about the JFK, it wasn't very soft. It was secrets. So he's got him going, which one is he going to go down? Which path is he going to take? And he's going, then he talks about the JFK file. So he's got him doing this kind of, getting him prepared for something a bit bigger. So, and that was why when he kind of go, it's the JFK files. And you've got this kind of 99.6%, and he's gone right up with his voice. That was kind of, you can see there's a little bit of, I wouldn't say panic, but definitely a bit of apprehension. Like, how far down this path are we going to go? So
Yeah, his polish is a little bit, it's fading
yeah.
here.
I let down a helium balloon the once by pinching the two bits, and just for a second it sounded a little bit like that.
Oh yeah. So let's see.
But it was 60 years ago.
John, not everything was 60 years ago. And I don't want to spend a lot of time walking through this, but suffice it to say, the definition of a document covered by this statute that you're referring to, it's a little bit wonky, but suffice it to say, if Congress holds a hearing tomorrow on the Kennedy assassination, the documents generated tomorrow will be part of those files. Those would be tomorrow, they'd be 60 seconds old, not 60 years old.
Okay. Can I point out how John Stossel is letting him go?
Mm-hmm.
He's
doing
just
a brilliant job.
Letting him, and it's uncomfortable. He's having to fill it in. He's like, let me just point out. So that means, and I really appreciate the subtlety here.
It's fantastic.
And last thing I'll say is there are things that happened 60 years ago that are still important to keep in the vault. There are lots of things that happened that long ago that still are appropriate not to release. Think of names and addresses and families.
Okay. No body language, no statement analysis here. We'll just go straight into this is bullshit.
Yeah.
Why is this bullshit? There's names and addresses.
Well, that could be redacted.
Boop, boop, black marker. Yeah, take it right out. Give me a break. And he said, think it.
Yeah.
Well, think that. Is that what it is? No, he's saying think that. Well, that doesn't mean that's what that is.
That in itself is a typical kind of diversion there. So he's saying, first in one sentence, there are things that happened 60 years ago that are still relevant today. And then he's saying, think names, addresses. So, okay. Let's go with were these names and addresses the same as what they were 60 years ago, or have they been the same names and addresses?
They never moved.
Years? So but on top of that, he's not saying because there are people's names and addresses in there that we don't want. No, he's not saying the actual reason why they're keeping those files secure. He's saying think names, addresses. So. If you were to say, Gavin, are you coming to my party next week? And I go, I can't make it. And you go, why? And I go, think illnesses. you might go, okay, maybe he's ill and he's coming down with something. But that doesn't necessarily mean that is. It might just be an excuse that I can't come to your party. So when people say think this, it's because they're trying to point you in a direction. They're trying to divert from what it really is, not necessarily, that's what the answer to the question is. So
right, and this is giving yet another part of this guy. So okay, first off, he is someone who has gone through hundreds of polygraph tests, most likely. He's gone through questioning everywhere. So we're talking about a combination of spycraft, influence. I mean, we're talking Cialdini work in here. That whole think thing, like we're pointing out the problems with it, but it's actually very effective, and that's why he's using it because he's saying think. He's influencing. Go think this, and but credit to Stossel. He's not arguing with them.
No, he's doing a brilliant job there. How many times have we seen? Kind of somebody ask a oh yes, thank you very much. Ask a question in an interview, and then they'll be part of the way through an answer, and the interviewer will start answering the question for them, and you're going, just shut up and let him talk, please. He's doing a great job here. He's just letting that uncomfortable silence linger, so as that Pompeo keeps on talking, and the more he keeps on talking, the more things are saying that are not marrying up and matching up. So again, intelligence training is phenomenal because, as well as being able to be trained to be able to spot when people are lying to you, you have to be able to be trained to contain those lies yourself. So what they do, and this is a bit of information for everybody here, you'll enjoy this, they get you to sit in a room with somebody and they put a camera and they record you the entire time that you're having a conversation with somebody, and that person will ask you loads of questions. Then afterwards, you will watch back the video of yourself because you know when you're lying. And then you will be able to see your own tells because you've learned how to pick them up. And when you know your own tells, you can cover them better. So now he knows this. He's the former director of the CIA. He's done this in his sleep. He's had, like you say, countless polygraph tests, and the equipment they've got is way, way, way better than your standard kind of polygraph machine. So, yeah, if you can imagine how many times he's been through this and done this and knows exactly how and when to cover his tails, we are talking, add that to the caliber of guy he is, you know, and like you say, I'm not going to repeat his credentials, but, you know, you're talking somebody with a lot...
Actually, I will. I don't know if he was FBI, Helen. I believe he was a soldier. He was a congressman. He was a CIA director, and he was the Secretary of State. Mm-hmm. I know those. And when I say soldier, I think he was like a colonel, or he's not a lightweight. And yes, he knows how to lie as a politician, as a spy. I mean, but there's it's kind of fun to watch him because of the polish here. Like, okay, last week we were covering somebody who has the eloquence of your average bank robber, in my opinion. But this guy is finesse. You know, there's something here, and while he's doing it, he's likable. He's very likable. He's got a good smile. He's charming as hell. Very, very, very dangerous dude. But again, Stossel, and by the way, Stossel in this is looking really haggard. I kind of wonder if there isn't a psychological play there that Stossel looks like that beaten down, haggard reporter. You're never going to lie to him. He looks cynical. He looks tougher. He looks older, because he doesn't always look that way. He's usually a little bit more trim looking. Here he looks haggard. I don't know the best way to put it. He does kind of look a little haggard.
Makes you wonder if it's been done deliberate. But Pompeo, yeah, he really is very polished. We will see him stumble. We will see that little trip.
Well, there already are. I mean, we've seen multiple little stumbles and more to come for sure.
Yeah, we're going to see a bigger one.
Oh, well, yeah. Yeah, okay.
And by the way, there's also no value in them. These don't hold the dark secrets that everybody wants to just hold up as the bogeyman. I saw the UFO files too.
All right, so I got happy.
Oh dear.
I keep forgetting that I can't just use my cursor to go back and forth. I want to play that again because it's important. Sure. If I can. What in the hell?
Oh dear.
Google Drive, you suck.
Wonderful. It's probably because I've been thinking too much. That's what it is.
Oh yeah. Come on.
So yeah, you while you're getting that to the right spot, I'll just mention we did see that little left-hand gesture then for a moment when he's talking about the press value of the of the files, and when you replay it, you'll also see a little bit of eye blocking. Here we go.
Will be part of those files. Those would be tomorrow. They'd be 60 seconds old, not 60 years old.
Oh yes, sorry. Yeah, talk about. That is some line of bullshit in there. I'm telling you, I love that. It's like, no, if I update the files today, and let's say, Gavin, you and I, we go in the room and then we say, oh, let's go look at the files. And then we mark it down. Gavin and Eric looked at the files. We need to put that in the files. And now the files aren't 60 years old. They're 60 seconds old.
Yes,
come on.
Do you know what? I can't show it on. I can't show it on a live show. I've got an MOD, a top secret MOD file, right? And the way they work, they've got like a it's almost like a chart on the front, and with every addition, you'd write in the details like who made the addition, when, why, and the date, and the title and whatever else. So with every page that goes in there, and then the last edition then is changed to go into like a second. But the bottom line is that the original file remains however old it is. It'll just last be updated on whatever date is written on the outside of the cover of that file. So and yeah, so they are still 60 years old. Updated doesn't make it a brand new file. So,
no, yeah. and I don't want to claim that adding to the record isn't of value, because I want to know who's looking at the files. Why are they looking at the file? There could be value there. You never know. Names and addresses. right, Gavin?
Awesome. That could be read. But, I mean, and again, he said if Congress have a meeting tomorrow and discuss the Kennedy files, then those files, or he's saying those files are 60 seconds old, not 60 years old. But why would they be having a meeting tomorrow on? So therefore, that means there's been lots and lots of meetings over the years. I know they did in the 90s for a long time when there was a little bit of aggro then with things. I don't know.
Well, yeah, it's called Oliver Stone.
Oh yeah,
he released this movie called JFK.
Yeah.
It got nominated for a bunch of Academy Awards. Got a law passed in Congress, the JFK Records Release Act, or something like. I forgot the exact name, which is literally it was unanimous. I mean, think about it. Congress was unanimous about daylight savings time, or daylight saving time recently, which of course looks like it doesn't matter. It's going to continue till the end of time, and they were unanimous about that. Well, yeah, I know. I'm from Arizona.
Yeah,
I'm just hoping it's like cannabis, and the states just start saying, you know what, screw you, and just doing their own thing.
Yeah,
and eventually it all falls down. But
Oliver Stone, no relation, by the way, nothing to do with me. So,
I don't know. You could have let people think.
Yeah, why not?
I mean, Stone's such a rare name. I know.
Yeah, there is that.
And last thing I'll say is there are things that happened 60 years ago that are still important to keep in the vault. There are lots of things that happened that long ago that still are appropriate not to release. Think of names and addresses and families. And by the way, there's also no value in them. These don't hold the dark secrets that everybody wants to just.
My favorite part of it, and this is important because it's not the only time that he's going to do it, but there are important things in there that can't be released, but there's no value in it anyway. But there's important things in there you got to release, but there's no value in it anyway. There are no dark secrets. Let's talk UFO files. I've seen those. Well, no, we're talking about JFK files. Other 3 letters.
Yeah, it's wonderful, and you'll notice the if you listen to his voice, the speed has changed, the pitch has changed, the tone has changed, everything's changed. And here's the left-hand gesture again. You know, we've gone. There's no value. There's no value. You know,
nothing to see here.
That's it. Yep.
Over there. Nothing to see there.
This is my treasure box, but there's nothing in it. And you can't look.
Oh my! Oh wow, Georgina, thank you so much. You're
Thank
such a
you
sweetheart.
very much. Yeah, that's wonderful.
Thank you. I really, really appreciate that. That is amazing.
It really is.
All right. So he's saying, "Giddy up, John." No.
Yep.
Hold up
He wants to get past this.
What?
He really wants to get past this, and fair play again. I'm going to call out the guy, the interviewer again, with this still remaining silent this entire time. He's not going or he's just keeping quiet. Even when Pompeo stopped and paused for a moment, he still just kept stum and just let him carry on going and going and going. Brilliant, brilliant tactic. For all the interviewers out there who are listening, take that on board.
And it's a dream for you trying to do body language and statement analysis.
Oh, hell yeah.
Because it's not like, oh, I'm going to get my clever thing. And then they're also not cutting to John. While John is shut up, it's all Mike. And I like that. I like it being all Pompeo. There was a cut in there, so I don't know what it said, but I did see that there was a cut, and that is interesting.
You in them. These don't hold the dark secrets that everybody wants to just hold up as the bogeyman. I saw the UFO files too. We've got bigger problems. North America, lots of bigger problems. Just because something is kept secret, why not go to the darkest corners? But it's a lot of fun. I'm happy to go there with you if you'd like.
I'm no expert in this, but it just makes no sense to me. The 60 years ago that there are things in there.
Sure.
Hypothetically, just for example,
imagine you had an operative operating somewhere in the world who was 20 years old at the time they were doing that work.
Or maybe hold on. Maybe there was an operative around that time. It was like 23 years old or 24 years old, and maybe he wound up getting shot by another guy named Jack Ruby when he was in the police custody. Maybe you had an operative. I don't know. You know, he did say there could be an operative. He didn't say which one or whom.
Well, one of the things that we do in the intelligence industry when we are told if we have to deviate from the truth is to keep it as close to the truth as possible. So if you have to tell any kind of a porky pie, keep it as close to the truth as you possibly can, and you won't deviate too much from your baseline. So maybe there was an operative in there. Maybe there was a young man, So, but yeah, this beautiful little stumble is coming up in just a moment. He says the next little bit, and you watch Pompeo go, "That's right, yeah." And you see that fall from grace for a moment.
I also, and then back credit for John again.
Yeah.
He's kind of taunting him a little.
Yeah.
He's a little like, come on. You're laying some bullshit into me and forcing him to keep convincing. And I love that. It's like, he's not even getting his sentence out. Oh, sure. And he knows this guy's not buying it. He's not buying it. How do I keep controlling the narrative? How do I control the conversation flow? Because that's a lot of this, is to control.
I also love the fact here that he's gone down the road. He's completely gotten rid of his ego out of the picture here. And even though it's like semi-taunt, semi-jest, he's kind of, I'm no expert, but, and he starts off, he's kind of putting all his egos, I'm no expert, but there is this little fact of the matter here. And he's jumped to the defense. Like you said, he hasn't even finished his question, and he's jumped straight in there to try and kind of defend the actions of himself and his colleagues, shall we say.
All right.
Hypothetically, just for example,
imagine you had an operative operating somewhere in the world who was 20 years old at the time they were doing that work. 60 years ago puts them at 80 today. Average lifespan of an American male, something in that range. Yeah, you should keep their identity secret.
But this was the Kennedy assassination in America.
Right, exactly.
By the way,
and there it is.
Well, that was a threat. That was actually a threat. Right there. Yes, exactly. Yeah. All joviality left in that second, and that second in this entire interview. There, I know a little bit with Snowden too, but that stare is somebody who could say, "Pull the trigger."
And the interesting part is, I think it cuts there, right where you've paused it, and it comes back to it again in a minute. But yeah, you see that where he's talking about there's an operative working somewhere in the world who's 20 years old, 60 years ago, makes him 80 today. It's all really nice and light and friendly. And he looks at him and he literally calls him out. And he, almost like he's saying he's stupid, he's going, but this is an American thing.
Well, and that's, by the way, that's calling it out, because he's saying, what the hell are you doing on American soil, CIA?
Exactly. So for the Europeans and the British in the audience who don't know, CIA don't usually, or
not supposed to. It's illegal. It's illegal.
Unless there are some caveats, like if they're on a joint CIA or FBI operation.
Only if it's a foreign national.
Yeah.
Then they can maybe chase a foreign national. Oswald is no foreign national. No, so it's beyond sketch.
That's it. So there are like certain areas. So it's not completely out the question in certain circumstances, but this wouldn't be those circumstances. So literally, like the FBI are the people who at home, the CIA abroad. So for the CIA to be operating on American soil without FBI kind of not counter, what do they call it? Joint operation. It wouldn't be happening. So that's just to let everybody know why he's acting like that. And so, but this is America that you were on at the time with this case, and that's why then the reaction has been,
And look at that. Look, I mean, and this is Stossel. I mean, again, sharp as a tack. He's going in. It's going in. It's like, what are you talking about now? What are you talking about now? This sharp dude.
Oh, it's beautiful.
No. You see, Stossel's somebody that I would like to be. I would like to attain some of his skill. So I just really admire it.
I reckon you could pull that beard off as well. To be fair, I reckon you could get away with that, Eric.
I don't quite have that stat. Thank
you. Right, exactly.
That.
Oh, that's just beautiful, isn't it?
So, I'm sorry, but that is somebody who I could see as a governor or as a warden pulling the handle on an electric chair. That is a cold-blooded
hell yeah.
stare.
You see him going from this lovely conversation, which is really, really kind of enjoying, high energy, to you've just made an idiot out of me, and I am not happy. And then after he says, right, yeah, it cuts and it comes back. So if we can just back that up to the last bit of the question and just play the whole thing right up until when it cuts and go to the new scene, that'd be great, because I love the whole reaction to that, and let the audience see that full thing.
Sure.
You should keep their identity secret.
But this was the Kennedy assassination in America.
Right, exactly. Precisely right. Remember what the scope of these files is, John. The scope of these files isn't reduced.
For everybody with a cut there, he's gone, right, yeah, exactly that. And then there's this cut, and you'll probably find that somebody's yelled cut, and he's turned around and said, what the hell were you doing? And they've probably had a bit of a row, and they've probably had a cup of coffee and a couple of biscuits, and sat back down and said, right, let's try again. So, and then he's gone back to this jovial conversation that they were having before, and we'll see a little bit more. But that was a brilliant bit of interviewing. That was fantastic. He should have interviewed Prince Andrew.
Even though the one who didn't do too badly.
No, she did pretty good job.
Yeah, in fairness. And also, I don't know. I think a female. He was like in a sway or so.
Yeah, there is that.
To just what was happening inside the United States government. The scope of these files is legion. Anything that was talked about in the course of, there were hearings in the 90s, there were hearings in the 2000s. They ran far afield around the world. Anything that was part of those files is included in this. And so I had a chance to see not all of those documents, but most of them. The news value of them is grossly overrated, and the desire to keep them secret, the motivation, the rationale for keeping them secret is wholly justified. I think we released, I can't remember on our watch, 140,000, 180,000 pages of those documents while I was the CIA director. Totally appropriate to do so. And as time goes on, we should do our best. The most important reason to do it is because everybody out there talking about these things will get to see that there's less there than meets the eye. I'll leave it at that.
I love that little line there. Did you hear him? Yeah, sorry. We released these files in the 90s or in 2007, or when I was CIA director, or whatever it was. He said, and he said, and as time goes by, we should do our best. Do our best to what? There's no continue.
Keep from releasing them, probably.
Yes. Beautiful. No, yeah, sorry, I interrupted, Eric. You were going to say
no. I mean, but again, I think it was 3 times in that sequence. Mm-hmm. He said, "There's important information that has to stay secret, but there's nothing there to see anyway."
Yeah.
Over and over. It's just like a kid. It's just like a kid. It's like, I didn't break mom's vase, but it was ugly anyway.
Yeah. I love the whole I think there's probably jokes online like, you know, kind of keep scrolling, nothing to see, keep going past, nothing to see, and you know, and they do this whole nothing to see here joke. It's almost become and this is what's going on with this guy here. You know, there is a big old kind of work of art in there, and he's going, nothing to see. Sure. What you will notice in that clip is a couple of times when he's recalling things, you'll see his eyes move upwards as he's recalling. This is, by the looks of it, where he goes to access memories. So he goes, I think it was in the 90s, and he's looking up that we released this file. It was when this happened. And so a couple of times he's looked up when he's recalling information, and it's been quite a long look for him. You know, so this has probably been about half a second to a second long, which for him is quite a long time. You'll see later some eye movements which are so rapid they're like a lightning strike. But just remember that's where he goes when he's recalling information with his eye movements.
Well, he was calculating too. Because I think that part of the reason it's long for him is he's filtering it as he talks.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, because in the 90s. Yeah, I'll go with the 90s. So I think it is legitimately he is thinking back.
Yeah.
But I think at the same time, he's censoring himself as he goes. So,
and he's very good at it too.
Oh, you think? Very, 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 very fast. I mean, we're picking at him, like crazy, but I guarantee if you're having a beer with this guy, you'd be like, wait, where'd my wallet go? It's like, why did I buy the whole place of beer? I mean,
yeah, I mean, I've watched these videos over the last 2 or 3 days, time and time again. I've had to slow them down, watch a little bit, repeat it, watch a little bit again and again and again to look at every little bit, zoom in for every little eye movement. He is so fast at processing. Before a micro expression has appeared, he's moved it, thought it, said it, and gone on to the next thing. He's amazingly fast at processing information and saying it, editing it on Journey, and having a polished delivery. Brilliant guy. I'm jealous.
Well, now we get to see our last subject, and please tell us below. I'll flat out say that they're covering up crap with JFK. And this is not only his performance, it's all the research that I've been exposed to, that my partner Mark Robert and his friends have done on the assassination. Absolutely, there's some major stuff in there that they keep bearing. Specifically, think of Oswald in Mexico, which we don't think he was in Mexico. But coincidentally, it keeps circling around that. But I want to know what you think. Do you think Gavin and I are wrong, that there's nothing to see there? No files, no worries, none of that? Or do you think more like MP Schaefer here? I think we should decide the value.
Yeah, thank you to MP Schaefer for also subscribing to my channel a moment ago. Thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you there.
Very cool. All right, so onward to Snowden.
Let's talk about Edward Snowden.
Edward Snowden, the man who told the world about the federal government's sweeping top-secret domestic spying program, is on the move.
After Snowden fled America, Pompeo said,
We've had the traitor Edward Snowden steal that information. He should be brought back from Russia and given due process. And I think the proper outcome would be that he would be given a death sentence.
He should be executed. He's a traitor.
Yes.
What the NSA is doing.
But by the way, this is twice that he's talking about killing, right?
Yeah.
We've got the Korean leader, and we have Edward Snowden. And this is a guy, by the way, who is capable of having that done. So crazy situation there. I just want to point that out. And the flatness, that coldness. Hold on, because he did it like almost like an aside. Didn't have to think too hard.
No.
Let me see.
There's the emotion of a shark.
Oh yeah, or even a zealot.
Proper outcome would be that he would be given a death sentence.
He should be executed. He's a traitor.
Yes.
What?
Lovely.
Yes.
Simple as that.
By the way, is that not perfect statement analysis right there? There was no hesitation, no anything. Just yes.
Yeah. That's exactly what you want to hear when so. In fact, funnily enough, that will come up a little bit later. But what you want to hear when somebody is giving you an answer is a straight yes or a straight no. It doesn't matter if they say something else afterwards. But if you ask somebody a question and you go, did you steal my cookies? And they go, well, if you're not hearing a no, it stands a chance that they did it or they've got some kind of guilty knowledge or whatever the case may be. But if somebody says no, I haven't seen your cookies or I haven't touched your cookies or whatever, then then you're more likely to be getting a more honest answer out of them.
Yep, and that there was no pause, no yes.
Yeah, there was nothing. Didn't need to think about it because there was nothing to think about. It's what he felt.
Yep.
The NSA is doing every single day, its ordinary course of business, is violating not only the laws as written, but likely the Constitution.
Why should I care? I figure Google and Facebook knows everything about everybody. What difference does it make?
Once we are entered into this system where everything we've ever done is instantly just waiting to
Pompeo here.
Said was illegal. Said what American people about
will be used.
What he told the American people about, courts said, was illegal.
Both of those thoughts can be held in one's head at the same time.
So what should he have done?
You can't steal stuff, John. You can't steal American secrets.
You pause it there.
It's
So he said, what should he have done? Not what did he do? So when he said, what should he have done? And he said, you can't steal stuff, John. He didn't answer the question. So I just wanted to point that out. I think it does come back again. I think he posted him again in a while to say, well, you know, you didn't tell me, so tell me what should he have done. So I just wanted to point that out at that point, that he's, even at this stage, is trying to steer the conversation down a particular path. I think he's got certain answers to questions that he knew were going to be coming, semi-rehearsed, or what he was going to say to them. So
but there's that rage. There's a definite. I wouldn't want to leave them alone in the dark room.
Oh, definitely not. Only one of them will be coming out.
I promise.
And I know who my money's on.
Could he have done?
You can't steal stuff, John. You can't steal American secrets. It's unacceptable, even if your justification is noble. And by the way, I would argue that most of what he stole, having now had a chance to see that as CIA director, most of what he stole had nothing to do with the storyline that you're thinking of. The vast majority of the information he stole was America's military secrets.
God, doesn't it sound like something else that we just heard a minute ago?
It does.
I've gotten a chance to see, and I always love this though, but it's like, yeah, you can look at it and then you can just tell us what it is. Oh, well, let me go look and confirm that. No. Sorry, you don't have the clearance.
I will say here, by the way, and I want to let everybody know that I don't agree with selling, stealing, or spying government secrets unless you're doing it for me. But you know, on the for the actual selling of American security and secrets, you know, it shouldn't have been done. So I can understand why he's angry. You will see in this. I'll try and point it out as we go. You can see that this has created a hell of a lot of problems for him, because you see a little bit of eye blocking that we're going to come up to and cover as he's mentioning these things.
Oh, yeah.
He put my friends at risk. He put your family members or your cousin or your friend who's serving in a submarine fleet somewhere in the world. He put their lives at risk, and he did it by stealing American stuff. And that by definition is unlawful. And he did it in a way that he knew put their lives at risk.
What's one example that no longer would threaten somebody? How does he threaten somebody?
Well, the information that he stole and then provided to the world, shared, trying to figure out how to do it without being the same man that he is, shared patterns of American activity and our naval fleet. This is dangerous, John. That's not noble. That's not sharing something the government's doing that's bad. And that wasn't his mission set. His mission set was to be mischievous and undermine the United States of America. Make no mistake about it. Edward Snowden's intentions were to weaken the United States of America. And he did. And he cost us lots of money trying to go fix the fact that now every one of our adversaries knew the information he provided. Yes, there were a handful of things that he leaked that some set of courts have said were unlawful.
He hates this. He hates this so much. Okay.
I know.
There's a lot here. One, he's not denying the secrets, and that's very important. So he's not denying the accuracy of Snowden's documents. So that right there is clear. No, that was actually going on. And now he's saying some courts should decide. I think it's an interesting case because I don't think he's lying here. I don't think there's any deception whatsoever. I think that he sees Snowden as a son of a bitch who had no right. This is getting into some of the arrogance factor or whatever, but it's like, you had no right to do it. It's very personal to him.
Oh yeah. That's the perfect word for it. Personal. He has taken this personally. You can see the anger and annoyance. This has probably caused a huge amount of. I know it's caused a huge amount of chaos within government departments. Not just the NSA, not just the CIA, but there's the whole spectrum of all the intelligence agencies and certain military around the world, and American kind of. Government departments have suffered from the fallout of this in many, many ways. And not to mention the fact that it was an embarrassment. It was probably bad timing. And it's probably brought him and a lot of other intelligence agencies under the microscope a little bit more when they really didn't need it. So there was a whole lot going on there. And basically all that hate for everything that's happened is all directed at Snowden, because it all started with him and his Rubik's Cube.
Yeah. By the way, I want to point something out too, because people will like to go, "Oh, this is all political and whatever," right? Snowden did this under Obama, and he's raging about something happened under Obama. He was a CIA director, Secretary of State under Trump, and he didn't release JFK documents under Trump, just the same as Biden hasn't released the documents other than a few this year. So this is not a political thing, and I really want to push that out, that it's not a right wing, left wing, whatever. It's a matter of deep state, and this is the stuff that I'm super concerned with. He is the ultimate deep state figure, whichever party happens to be. Doesn't matter. He's all about the deep state.
Yeah, there's nothing left or right here. This is about him and his little area of expertise. MP Schaefer, you're right. They had no right to spy on Americans. Bearing in mind, this was the NSA, not the CIA. And I know because the NSA, the National Security Agency, were doing a hell of a lot of things that they shouldn't have been doing. What I will say is, there are hundreds of millions of Americans, and there are only, I think, probably about 20 to 40,000 staff at the main office of the NSA. They're not watching everybody all the time, and never were.
But they're recording everything all the time. That's the thing. They're tapping in to a lot, and then that's where you deal with, like, I believe early funder of Google was CIA. A lot of AI stuff. So you're recording everything, and you have algorithms that are constantly going through it and spitting up terms.
Yeah. So, but what a lot of that, this actually goes back to Menwith Hill, when the Brits when we had a lot of the original GCHQ, where we would literally over here monitor every single phone call, and all of them were being recorded. Whether and the British didn't really like it or know about it or whatever else. And what would happen is there would be certain keywords that will be picked up on. If I don't know what I can say, but if you're going to think of like a royal that passed away recently, if you said that in the same sentence as
as you find stuff out, like if you hear the name Andrew and Ghislaine,
bing
bing,
so,
there are keywords or certain names, but they also track who the certain people are. And one quick trick that's really, it's a dirty pull thing, and don't think that even when they're set to rights that they're not doing it, because we have something called 5 Eyes, and one of the ways to get around those pesky laws suck, is we have a relationship, especially with England, and MI6. So MI6 is not supposed to be looking at their own citizens, but we do. And MI6 can say, hey, if you don't mind telling me what's going on in my house, I appreciate that. And then we tell them the same. And so we have partner agencies spying on our own people for us. So it's pretty thick, devious stuff.
We share, not only do we share a lot of information, and we use Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and everything else, but we've also got the cozy little arrangements with MI5 and GCHQ and that kind of thing. We share a lot of military installations. So there are a lot of American military installations here in the UK that not many people know about. So there's a lot of exchange of data,
a lot of training.
Yeah. So, but to go back to what we were saying there, even though every phone call was being recorded, as it were, and all the information was being recorded, it was only if certain red flags, if you want to call them that, were showing up, that somebody posed as a threat in some way, that they say, let's log this person and just see what they get up to. And if nothing comes of it, we can let it go. But if this person all of a sudden starts ordering 16 pallets of fertilizer and talking about,
Yeah, but you see, that's the BS that's what they use to sell it.
Yeah.
But the truth is that we have the IRS that's going to target certain groups for keywords in there because they don't want them to raise the money. So that anytime you question the surveillance, you're going to get one of two things. Early oddies, it was all, you just don't care about terrorism, do you? You don't want anybody to be safe, do you? So now that's flipped, though, and they'll say, so you don't care about CP. You don't care about bad pictures that are going on.
Mm-hmm.
What is wrong with you? Are you a deviant? Do you want to allow these people to share their wares just because of your little sensitive privacy?
It really is a difficult, because and I've had this, you know, because I've worked in the industry, and what happens is it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because if you're looking at people, then people say you shouldn't be looking at them. They're entitled to their privacy, right? And you say, you know, you shouldn't be watching people unless you've got a reason to watch them. And normally, by the time you've got a reason to watch them, it's too late because they've done something that, you know, is an act of terrorism. Then when they do that act of terrorism, they go, well, why weren't you watching them? So you can't win, you know, because, you know, well, when we tried to watch them, you told us you want your privacy and we're not allowed to. So it really is very, very difficult to kind of keep all parties happy at the same time. You know, so, and of course, we are simplifying it a lot here, but, you know, there is a lot more to it than that. But this is the broad picture, as it were. So, but yeah, very, very difficult to kind of keep everybody happy at the same time, and more importantly, keep them safe.
Allegedly.
Yeah. So,
I mean, I obviously there
it has been abused.
Some cases that, you're helping keep someone safe, but it is so frequently abused when you have chairman or whatever, you have congressional committees who can just dial in and get information. It is out of hand. There's a reason we have due process. There's a reason why we have search warrants.
Oh,
these mechanisms are all out there. And yes, I understand that there is a question of safety that can come up, but we do have to sacrifice a little bit of it, I think, occasionally.
Sometimes it has to happen. And I think what happened is they got a little bit complacent. They had technology that could do so much, and they went, "Wow, we've opened a treasure trove here. Shh, don't tell anybody. Let's just, you know, let's."
Well, no, not only that, they just lie about it.
Oh yeah,
lie. James Clapper sitting there. No, never did anything. Anybody want to see somebody dissembling and a poor CIA director? Go ahead and look at him testifying in front of Congress, rubbing his head. And I know, was he a CIA director? Or that he was national security or CIA? Anyway, the dude.
We should have had some side-by-side videos here, shouldn't we?
Yeah, there were no polish there, but this guy was a politician, so that helps too.
The information he provided.
Sorry.
Yes, there were a handful of things that he leaked that some set of courts have said were unlawful.
Some set of courts.
In some case, I think the courts got that wrong, but fair enough. But whatever some court may have said, I know what Edward Snowden did. I know the harm he inflicted, and I know the risk that he created for people who are serving in the United States of America's military, and that should never be forgiven because you think you have some higher mission.
You want more surveillance for our safety? No,
absolutely not. When you say surveillance, I want the CIA out crushing it all over the world. Yes,
spying on American
people. Absolutely not. Just the inverse. I actually think you can achieve each of those. I don't think you need to spy on the American people to get what we need to keep the people safe.
But NSA was illegally spying on the American people. Wasn't he right to?
Yep. Did you hear that?
Yep. So there's a couple of beautiful things there with that as well, and of course, you know, if you can back that up in a second if you want, but you've got that absolutely, which I've said before. You know, we've covered this on the program before, but I will quickly reiterate for anybody new. Listen to the word absolutely and ask yourself, would it apply to a question of anything of lesser severity? So, you know, I say, you know, hey, Eric, you know, have you read a book by, you know, Gavin Stone? And you go, absolutely.
You know, like, he's quizzing me later.
Where did that come from? So, you know, if it wouldn't apply to something less severe, then, you know, why use it at all? So, hey, look at that. That's my bestseller. Thank you. Nice little plug there. Shameless. So yeah, we're so listen for the word absolutely when somebody answers that to a question and think, does it actually apply? You know, like earlier when we said, are they answering yes or are they answering no? If they're answering with an absolutely, they're trying to convince you. So there
But
should
he
have been
does
yes
say
or
a
no.
yep. I'll take a yep as a yes.
Oh yeah. That we'll accept that.
that was yep.
Yeah. Oh, Sadie's here as well. Nice to see Sadie. Hi, and Sam, Ray J as well. Hey, Sonny.
Need to keep the people safe.
But NSA was illegally spying
Yep.
on the American people. Wasn't he right to expose that?
No, you don't get to steal stuff to do that. And, I hear about these folks who claim that they are whistleblowers, right? All the way back to Ellsberg. We know these storylines. No, those people signed up for a process that said, if you find something that's going on illegal, there is a process to correct it. That process is not.
Believe me.
Yeah,
Believe me.
I saw it. It's beautiful because there's not only that, but there's a nice pause. Like he gives that flash, that kind of look for approval when he does the eyebrow raise, and then he pauses, almost like he's waiting for him to jump back in there, and he does it again. He does
Stossel's
the right
not going to.
No,
not
he
going
stays
to.
nice
You're
and
on
quiet.
your own, buddy.
Love it. Absolutely brilliant. He does the right thing. He just keeps quiet and goes, "Yep, just carry on talking."
Not to go to the Washington Post. This is anarchy. If the answer is everybody gets to decide what they like and don't like about what their government employer is doing, and they get to leak it to the Washington Post, you wouldn't let that happen in your company. None of the folks sitting around here today as we're doing this interview, none of them, if they stole some proprietary information of yours and said, I don't like what John's doing, I'm going to go tell the New York Times, I'm going to run down the street. You wouldn't find that acceptable, would you?
Okay. This is something that I would call a false analogy. And I wanted to get to that part before we wrap, because it's not comparable. It is not comparable. He's talking about John, who's running a private company, and then he's saying, you wouldn't want, I'll tell you what, if people at John's company are breaking the law, if they're committing crimes, because that's what the NSA was doing, is they were breaking the damn law. They were committing crimes. You absolutely have not only a duty, but an obligation to report the son of a bitches for breaking the crime. So in a backward way, his analogy actually makes me think that Snowden was correct. Your process, right? Who's the process? You're the guy in charge, Dick.
Yeah.
You're the guy in charge. So the process is you are supporting them breaking all this. He just said, yep, earlier, no problems, none at all. Go through a process. And at the end of it, who's the decision maker? Well, it's me. And then I, as God, will tell you what can and can't be done, you son of a bitch. And that's what this all goes down to, in my opinion, arrogance.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, like you say, that process, other people have tried and failed with that process. There are, people that, the people at the top talk amongst each other, and, and I know there have been many people who've tried and failed when they've gone and tried to be a whistleblower within the confines of the establishment that they're working in. So we'll leave it at that with that.
Well, on that note, everybody, I appreciate you hanging out. Gavin has another show. You're on Facebook Live.
Yeah, so for those of you who aren't a member, if you type in TCG Tribe, which stands for the Congruency Group, I'm going to be live with Lena Cisco, and we have a wonderful guest tonight. Come and join us over there. If you're not a member, come and click on the join group, and we'll let you in. And hopefully we'll see you there in a few minutes. Eric, thank you so much for having me. It's been enjoyable.
Awesome. Yes. And before you go, Gavin is trying to get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. There's a link. If you click his name in the description, should take you right to his channel. Please consider subscribing. If you like this material, Gavin gets in, he talks with, like Robin Dreek. He talks with Jack Barsky, who's one of the greatest guests I've ever had. Phenomenal people. Help him get to that number. 1,000, it is a big deal for all of us. Again, only if you like this, though. In fairness, only if you like this kind of thing, you like what Gavin does, please go ahead and consider subscribing. It means a lot to him. And you can always subscribe here too, by the way.
Yeah,
I won't fight you. I won't fight you.
And if you want to see more like this, give us a nice little comment saying yes or a thumbs up if you want to see more like this. And thank you very much for a wonderful night. It's been great. I've loved it. So thank you to everybody who came.
And we'll see you